Yeah, I think this is better. Sorry everybody online. So I was just giving a quick intro to myself. So hopefully you have not missed too much. But then currently I'm in Ericsson as a digital transformation expert. So I am supporting the strategy function with the next stage. So now Ericsson has lots of AI solutions that have scaled really well. But now the challenge is that there is still business happening the old way in the different market units on the ground. And so now you have to think of how can you transform the business to completely align with what the AI models are saying and what the technology solutions are offering. This topic, advanced AI and the advances there and generative AI, it has been very close to my heart for the past 10 to 12 years. So I'm very excited to share this with all of you. Very quickly, would love to talk about what exactly is generative AI and why it has become such a hot topic now and not say 10 years back, right? I would say generative AI, it's about three different parts, okay? What you see on the left-hand side or on the screen, that intuitive UI, ChatGPT, that's what everybody is familiar with, right? A bit of context about that. So there was a company, OpenAI, started in 2015 with 10 of the top AI experts in San Francisco to bring AI solutions to the world. They really experimented initially with these GPT models. The first one came in 2018, and then they found a lot of success. And in November last year, they introduced a GPT 3.5, and that's when the movement, the use cases and generative AI really took off. And the wider AI community is quite astonished with how soon ChatGPT became famous and was adopted around the world. And one of the key takeaways is the intuitive UI. It's simple, it's straightforward for anybody to use it. And many of the advances that everybody is discovering and using so much in ChatGPT, they have been present for anywhere between the last 1 to last 5 years. But till now, only a small community who could use Python, who could maybe use some of these AI tools had access to that. And now with ChatGPT, it's more like anybody, English is the hottest programming language now, because anybody who can, and even not even English, anybody who can use any basic language can harness the amazing power of AI. So, so ChatGPT is the processor that's really good in natural language processing or text processing tasks. So this could be like creating marketing brochures, this could be creating job descriptions, analyzing lots of text, writing new poems, writing new books. We can try to do all of that in the demo. Along with that, OpenAI has also released DALL-E, which is an image processing application. You can create new images there, and then there are a lot of such other applications where you can create new audio files, songs, you can create new videos, and so on, right? Now Microsoft has invested $11 billion, so you can think of ChatGPT as an extension of Microsoft. Google, not to be left behind, has introduced Bard. It's still not in EU, but it's released in all other countries, giving very similar functionalities, right? And besides that, many other technology companies are also coming up with their versions of similar user interfaces and similar models. Under the hood, what's really interesting is what you see besides that. There are two parts. One is what is called the artificial general network, okay? So the reason that ChatGPT and GPT in general became so popular now is because of this advance. This advance happened in around 2017. Researchers in Google created what they call this adversarial generative network. I'm showing a simple conceptual visualization here. The dots that you see here, so the dots that you see here, you can think of it on a very simple level as an AI system called a neural network. Just like in our brain, how there are a lot of different neurons which do processing, they're connected to each other. And a network of neurons can process a lot of information and help us do all our complex tasks. To mimic that, researchers had created these neural networks, and they could do a lot of AI-related tasks. But till 2010, the way to increase the accuracy and performance of these neural networks was just to add more processing power, to add more computers to these networks. In 2017, they realized that maybe one way to really boost the accuracy and efficiency and performance of these models is, rather than having just one of these neural networks in a system, have two networks in the system, and then set these two systems up in a way that they are playing this game with each other. So they are improving themselves and they are improving the other neural network. So for example, let's take the task. Say if this AGN network, we set it up to a simple task that you have to create synthetic faces of women. So, and you give this system maybe thousands of images of real women, okay? So what this system does is, it will take a real face, and then the first system will generate a synthetic face of a woman based on certain rules that are stored in these different dots, which are called as the nodes or the neurons in this system. Then this second system, it has to guess which is the real face, which is the synthetic face. If it can guess, if it does not guess correctly, it changes the rules that are stored in its own system, and it continues doing that until it can guess correctly. Once it guesses correctly, then it tells the first system, then the first system tries to keep on generating a new synthetic face till the second network fails to recognize the correct one. And then the second tries again to find the correct one. In this way, the two systems, they try to make themselves better, and they try to make the other system better. And this, due to this, this technique is based on something called backpropagation. Because of this, the system as a whole can achieve a lot more performance and efficiency as compared to the individual neural networks. Okay. Once this was discovered, then companies like OpenAI set these systems up to read, to basically train themselves on every available data set in the world, so on the web. So there are around 42 terabytes of text data on the web. This would include every page in Wikipedia, every book, ebook that's available on the web for free, every website, every marketing brochure, and so on. And then these systems, they went through all that data and they trained themselves. That means that they created all of these complicated rules and stored it. So then you put any task on this system, it is able to do that because of all the rules that it has stored in that AI system. So what this training has led to is what we call as the foundation models or the large language models. So this is the second aspect of this GPT. So when you say ChatGPT, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. By transformer, we mean this top part. By pre-trained, we mean this language model. So very simply, what we mean by a language model is, say you go to ChatGPT and you type, I have fever, I need a dash. So since ChatGPT has read everything available on the web, it probably has read thousands of instances where it's written, I have fever, I need a paracetamol, or I have fever, I need rest. So, and it has stored all of these relationships in that language model. And so then it can spit out very quickly that what you're asking for is that you need rest or you need paracetamol. So that's what we mean by a large language model. That's what is behind the hood. Okay, and so if you had a small system, and if it could just read the local data, it would be able to uh, give you answers for some small use cases. But now, since this foundation models, they have read everything on Wikipedia, then you can ask it to do a range of different activities. So it has read every Shakespeare book. So you can ask it to write a Shakespeare novel, the next Shakespeare novel, and it can do that because it has stored all of these relationships. Or it has read every poem that is out there. So you can ask it, can you write a poem on such and such topic? And it can do that. Yes.
But it cannot do things that it hasn't learned.
Yes, a very, very good point. And that's also something key to know. Right now, there is a lot of hype that have these models become conscious, or can they create something that has never been created? And these models can't do that because it is still just a language model, right? It can create Shakespeare books because it has already that data, but it cannot be the new Shakespeare. It cannot be the next author who writes a lot of original content. Yes, go on. Go on. It's working now. Yeah. Uh, Basically, the limitation was that earlier they were just using. Sorry. Mhm. So it's a probabilistic model, right? So it will have exactly as you say. So then, as you are seeing here, already generative AI, it's not just about the website or the user interface or the application. It is about the technology and these. Just to go in more into this, yeah, maybe we can. is this I guess I don't know how to set this up, but maybe they will call you if this is not working. But let's see. So the challenge is that this is streaming separately from the computer, so that's why it has to be using this. So yeah, and the people who are on the streaming, we don't have a way to contact them. So I guess they are calling the locality. So no, it's not Teams. Yeah. So, but anyhow, coming back. So, uh, hello. Yeah. So, hello. Yeah. This is this. Yeah, I'm not sure what. Yeah, hopefully. And I'll. It just shuts off for some reason. So. Sorry about that. So let's. I think yeah, this is low battery. Battery's low. It's also low battery. Okay, so sorry guys, the battery is low on all of these microphones.
This one is full. Like this. How do you select? This one has full battery, but you probably need to select this here. This is 1, 3. Set. 1, 1. See? Interesting.
Till then, maybe we can take a few more questions. Are there any questions?
Nope.
I'm jumping a bit fast. It's in a mask. It's so far out.
Var ska man trycka? Eller 3 här.
Man har i handen. Vad är det? Aha, en sån här.
Antagligen.
Ja, jo, jag ser den, men den kopplas inte. Nej. Alltså, ska de kopplas automatiskt? Hallå? Hallå?
I guess. Yeah, old is gold. Yeah. So I think till 2015 or so, we were the AI models. They were very good with image processing and data processing. Where they were not so good was the natural language processing part, the text processing, and so that's why the earlier neural networks, they were the ones that were being used in autonomous cars. They were good because when you're doing autonomous cars, you need image processing, so you need to identify objects, you need to identify distances and so on. This will improve the efficiency and accuracy there definitely, but the bigger leap is in natural processing, natural language processing, and that's not that much required in autonomous vehicles. So it's the basic is the same, like the development in AI will definitely benefit all, but this will ChatGPT and generative AI, it will benefit a lot more professions or tasks or activities where you are creating new text documents or text work or photo documents or so on. So yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So I'll get to that in one of the future slides, but you're fully right, and that is one of the challenges I talk about. That in AI we call it garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you do not control the quality of your inputs, it will affect the outputs, the results. And since a lot of things on the internet, they might not be truthful, they might not be accurate, and you're using all the available data on the internet to train you, then it will affect the results. So yes, you can follow an approach where you it takes around 10 to 15 million dollars to set up a foundation model. So there are some startups that are using more limited data sets for training, so not the entire web, but then subsets of it, and that could help maybe in improving the accuracy, but then it might sacrifice on some of the use cases which would not be covered in those data sets, for instance. But let's talk about that in one of the future slides. Coming back, and hopefully the people online can hear us better now. Already from the earlier slide, you were seeing that when we think of generative AI, you should think of the application, like the ChatGPT. You should think of the foundation models, and you should think of the technology or the infrastructure. And so you can think of the value chain in these 6 layers. So the color referring to how much, what are the new opportunities that are being created, what are the new things that are being created. So at the bottom you have the infrastructure piece. So that is going to stay the same now as compared to earlier, because the incumbents are really big. So this would be your Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or your Google Cloud. So because of the scale that they have already achieved, it's very difficult to disrupt on that level, and they have already built their moats, and you will have to choose one of these big cloud platforms to store your data and to use the processing capacity. The chips that go into for all of this high processing work, they are going to come from the same incumbent companies, and if you as a company want to see where you can achieve the most impact, these are not the areas you might want to think of. Then comes the foundation models. As we were discussing a bit earlier, there are 2 choices. You can use the foundation models that have already been built by OpenAI and others, and they are available as an API. But then that comes with 2 big challenges. One challenge is, of course, the accuracy is less, as we discussed. Second challenge is also that you have to be careful about putting very sensitive and confidential data onto these applications, right? Because the moment that you put things on ChatGPT, there are Microsoft can view that, but there are also others who would be able to view that, and so then it you will not be able to put your confidential company data into this, right? So then the approach would be to train your own, if you have the investments, to train your own foundation models. And that is a road that some of the startups, some of the companies are exploring. Another option is, for a lot of tasks, you can have public domain data, or you can have data which is not really sensitive, and it does not need to be guarded in your enterprise. So for instance, say if you have customer service manuals which are already open to the public and you want to start customer service bots, you can easily feed all of this data into the available foundation models, and then you can very easily build a chatbot. So that's where you have the model hubs. There are a lot of services that can help you ingest a lot of your company data or company text files into these models, and then create chatbot services and other functionality. It can help you analyze a lot of your data if you want, and so on. Then we talked about the applications. Besides ChatGPT, Bard, there are a lot of such other applications that are coming up, as you see in the ecosystem that I'm showing on the slide. And then there are a lot of companies that are building services on top of that. Here you also see the current established businesses. In order to benefit from ChatGPT, they are creating plugins to ChatGPT. So for instance, Instacart, Coursera, edX, a lot of the companies, they are creating plugins. So you can use them while you're using ChatGPT. There are plugins for Twitter, there are plugins. So for instance, say you can tell ChatGPT, tell me an interesting meal that I can have, and then find a really nice picture for that meal, and then post it on Twitter. So you can do all such integrations to existing businesses. Or you can say, find me an interesting meal, and then find what are all the ingredients and order it on, say, Amazon or something. And then you can use the plugins, and you can directly do that through ChatGPT. Okay. Then quickly going into what are the different use cases out there. So we can look at them in 6 different buckets. We talked about the text use cases, so content writing, it can create job descriptions, draft interview questions, analyze your data. We talked a lot about that. It can do decent code generation. So Copilot is an application that OpenAI, that Microsoft is providing, that can write code. It is not going to replace your senior software engineers, because you still need experienced eyes to look over the code that is being generated here. It has some bugs, it has some vulnerabilities, but it can really speed up the productivity of software engineers. Then it can do image processing, it can generate stock photos, it can generate a lot of multimedia content, not just images. It can generate new songs. So there was a recent controversy that some famous rap stars and some famous some famous pop artists, their new songs were created in their exact style. So for instance, you can say, can you create a new song exactly like Beatles would have created? And there are applications that can do that, and it will be very difficult to distinguish, is this song really something that Beatles had created or not? And then, it can create good quality audio and video. And then in video, I've written a lot of different things that it can create. It can create short form TikTok videos. It can create both the generic videos but also personalized content. So for instance, your company can say, I create a video on some generic script that you give, but then based on whoever is accessing that video, and if you have some information about their name, about their location or so on, you can add some personalized content to it, and then a personalized video would be shown to all these different people. Somebody accessing your website from India might get a different salutation, might get some information in a different language or so on. So lots of things can be done. A really interesting application is in product design discovery. So for instance, drug discovery. DeepMind was a startup, or is a startup in UK that's acquired by Google. Earlier, it used to take a PhD student almost his entire 4 or 5 years to solve a problem called protein folding problem. So create a new structure of a protein. Now this DeepMind, it analyzed all the different protein structures out there, and then it created every kind of protein structure that could be created. And so that is billions of hours of research and then DeepMind has put all of this openly available for the researchers. So this is billions of hours of research time saved. And I've purposely not put in specific use cases and what's the dollar impact and so on, because you can just Google it. Everybody is LinkedIn, everybody is like in the news and so on. We are bombarded every day with all of such use cases. So they're all out there. I'll quickly pause here. Any questions so far? Do we continue? Okay. So since I've talked up so much about the use cases and the applications, just want to mention that there are a few risks. I've just listed 3 here, but I'm not covering a lot of other risks like copyright infringement, for instance. Many of the images that are created here, it is a consolidation of images that other artists have already created. So then who owns the copyright for these new images? It is you, it is AI. Similarly, if you write new books and you sell them on Amazon, then should you be getting the revenue? Should OpenAI be getting the revenue, or should it belong to the original artist from whose works maybe experts have been created? So these are all questions out there. The 3 risks that I wanted to focus on is, first is hallucinations. So just as we discussed earlier, since nobody is controlling the quality of data going in, ChatGPT can very confidently give you completely inaccurate answers, and many times because of what we call anthropomorphism, or because it is giving us answers in exactly the language we want and the kind of personas that humans use, we tend to trust it a lot more than say we would trust a random article on internet. One of the famous cases of these hallucinations is ChatGPT invented or it accused a professor of sexual misconduct, and then to kind of justify that, it created a fake link to a fake Washington Post article in which it said, or it created a fake Washington Post article saying this professor had done sexual misconduct. And this is a bit scary because there is no board that you can go to if ChatGPT or other such AI models are kind of misrepresenting you or spreading inaccurate information about you. So this came to light because somebody approached the professor, and then the professor realized that this is what is out there, and then he tried to get that remedied. But say if you are considering using OpenAI or using such models to say process loan applications or process insurance applications, and it will tell you based on a score whether you should accept or reject a particular loan application, or what rate to charge for insurance. And because it's a big black box, sometimes it's very difficult to know if you should completely trust it, or the reasons that it is rejecting certain things, are those valid reasons or not? Yes. Yes, so the original models, they don't, but there is now more and more push to build in this explainability. And these are some responsible AI or ethical AI practices that you have to build in your company. So for instance, Microsoft and a lot of these technology giants, they are having boards, ethical boards, that will review every new AI use case that you want to start and all the data that it is being used to train that AI use case. And so you have to put in these guardrails. And I think there is, so right now there is some regulation coming at the EU level. It's not going to be related to generative AI, but in the future there is some talk that there should be some regulation that puts in some explainability factor, especially when decisions affecting human well-being or affecting human activities are being taken by AI. The next risk is there are a lot of inbuilt biases on the internet data, and then they get kind of embedded in OpenAI. So for instance, when Stable Diffusion, which is another of these foundation models, it was asked, show an image of assertive CEO. It generally gives a middle-aged male person And that's because that's the kind of images that it has seen on the net. And then, you know, so all of these prejudices just seep in. Another one is hacking, or what's called jailbreak prompts. So I didn't want to put an exact prompt in there, but right now if you just Google jailbreak prompts, you will see a lot of different ways of hacking ChatGPT. And yes, a lot of guardrails have been set. So ChatGPT cannot be used maliciously. So you cannot use it to find pirated content, or know more information about arms sales or so on, or a lot of dangerous and harmful activities. But there are some prompts which can kind of sidestep these guardrails. And of course, it's a cat and mouse game. So when OpenAI gets to know about them, they will fix those, but then other such prompts are created. So then you have to be careful about using such language models and ensuring that even if you put guardrails, how to ensure that they are not going to be hacked. And the reason that it's a bit different for generative AI as compared to your normal application development is because we have had 30 years of experience with any software development. So we have built-in processes right from the design stage on how to ensure that security is maintained for all our applications. And this technology is quite new, and so not everybody has, and even more new applications are being found to it. So it's like we are building the plane while we are flying in it. So not everybody has tested out all the use cases and all the security vulnerabilities and so on. So that's something to be aware of. Okay. So I think we have spent a lot of time going through the slides, and maybe we'll quickly go through the demo. Any questions? No? Okay. So with that, let's go into the demo. So if you want to open ChatGPT, basically you can just type in ChatGPT login. It will ask you to sign up, put in your email or so on, and then it will show you this screen, right? And then you can just type in anything that you want. So for instance, say so I've just told it to write a poem about INSEAD MBA, and it can do that. It can write say you tell it to write a book on AI, it will do that. And people have published such books, and they're making money on that. And it's the quality is quite good. So and you can even be even more specific. So say your son's or your daughter's birthday is coming up, put in what your daughter or son likes, put in his name, and ask him to create a poem on that. It can do that. And then if you want to create a new you don't have to just stop here. You can go to see. So this is image creator. It is powered. If you just search image creator by Bing, it will show up this image creator. And then say you can put in, you can even generate nice images as a backdrop to your poems, or as a backdrop to whatever material, marketing material, or anything that you want to do. So for instance, if I type in, and that's what oh, maybe a student or something. Let's see, this is a bit abstract now. Let's see what it creates. Nobody's sure because this is so new, right? It's not like it is taking an image exactly from whatever was copyrighted. So it will take 1% from this image, 2% from this, 3% it will create its own. So it's difficult to know. So let's see. So it has created this image, but you can just have a lot of fun playing with it. For a generic search, so for instance, I searched earlier horse with a hat. It will show really good images. But then if you are very, very specific, so then I searched Indian gods, for instance, then it is not doing a good job because of course it does not have that much of a data to train for training. So, but you can have a lot of fun with it. So you can create images. So think about, say, if you want to create a marketing brochure, right? So you say we were thinking earlier about the board needs to do some marketing, right? So you can say, yeah, exactly, and you can write. So right, you can put in what you want, and it will. So Bard has now put in a functionality where it can write emails for you. So if you get an email and you don't want to compose a reply to it, you can just use this auto create, and then it will create draft an email reply. So see, you can use ChatGPT to create such emails, and in these areas, in this natural language processing areas, it has achieved quite a lot of progress. So that is why if you look at the kind of jobs that are most affected, it is related to content creation like this that are most affected by ChatGPT. And so then let's see, if you want to not just use it for fun, but say you want to learn something, right? Then you can you can either ask ChatGPT to teach you, or it can also create plans for you. So let's go step by step. So let's say we wanted to learn more about generative AI, right? So we can have a script. And one thing to note is it is really important the kind of way you ask it. So even if you change one word from here to there, it will generate a different reply. So now an entire new field of prompt engineering is coming up. So yes, go on. No, it will give slightly different reply. It will not be the same. It probably depends. Mhm. So you can try. So it depends on how specific you are. So for instance, if you are very, very specific, like if you say, give me an image of a horse that is wearing a blue dress with this kind of a hat and so on, the more specific you are, maybe you repeat it, you will get the similar results. But if you just give a generic result, then every time it will be something different or slightly different. Yes. Yes, and I'll go into that just in the next demo. But you are right. You can firstly you can use the same responses that were given earlier and say, now you have given me this response. Can you add some things to it? Can you visualize it in a different way, or so on? For visualization, you need a plugin. You can't do it directly in ChatGPT. And yes, you can train it in that way. Or there is another way of training it also, and you can do it right from the start. And I'll show you in a minute about that. But then one of the ways, for instance, you wanted to learn more about generative AI. Yes, Isabel. I have no idea, but we can try. These are fun experiments to try, right? I have not tried that. But I would assume it would be different, maybe slightly different. And so let's say you wanted to learn more about generative AI, right? So you can say, so so this Pareto principle. So you can in this way, you can make it be more concise and really explain to you. Okay, it can explain you a lot wider span in a lot concise fashion, right? So we talked about generative models, neural networks, or so on. So now say you want to, now it has given you some things, but say there are different levels of information, right? A PhD person might be interested in something different when they want to learn about generative AI. A student might be interested in something different, right? Maybe I am the kind of a person who likes more intuitive text. Somebody else might like more storytelling text or so on. So you can also embed all of that in your search query. So I'm going to show you how to create a chatbot and how to create a chatbot that can create a personalized learning plan for you on any topic that you want, right? So whenever you want to create chatbots, you can just Google it. I want to create a ChatGPT chatbot that does this or does that, and you will have a lot of already created prompts, JSON scripts, even text online that will pretty much satisfy your own query. So I did just that. I said that can you show me how to create a chatbot that will create a learning plan for me, and then I found this text online. So you can ignore this first part, but say it says that when you are asking to create a training plan, firstly, maybe you can ask what level of training plan do you want? Do you want to study a particular topic as a postdoc or a PhD student or a high school student or so on, right? And then this chatbot can ask you that, and you can input it, and it will give a different answer based on what you have input. Maybe you have certain learning styles, so you can also ask it to create answers, to create content based on the learning style that you have, or the communication style that you have, or the tones, or the frameworks. Do you want to learn something that is taught in a more inductive fashion or analogical fashion or so on, right? So if you just copy all of this, you put it in ChatGPT, and then these are some instructions to say that, well, if somebody says a particular description in communication style or tone style, use that style to create the content that you want. So then if you just put this prompt into ChatGPT, so then I'll just copy it, and I'm happy to share this prompt with all of you if you're interested, or you can just Google it. It's available online. So say you can take this long prompt, and that's why you don't have any limitation on the kind of prompt. You can put in 5 pages of prompt in there, just so you get a very, very tailor-made answer. And so I just put it in here, right? And now that's it. So a chatbot is ready. So now this AI tutor is there. Now say if I type the same question, that can you teach me AI? Now you can learn it in different based on different expertise levels, styles, and so on, and it will give you different answers, and it will create a plan for you. So for instance, now I'll go back and I'll put the same, I want to learn, so okay, maybe we don't have to do that now because it already will give you very concise explanation. Okay, I see. So I did the exact same thing. Everything is taking a bit of time. So I put in the exact same prompt. Okay. And now, so the tutor is created. And once the prompt is pasted in that other window, it will ask you this kind of preferences. So this is a AI tutor chatbot. What do you want to learn? what kind of plan do you want to create? And then you can say, I typed in, I want to learn generative AI. Please create a plan. And I said step 7. By 7, it would be something like a master student, and then use the learning style equal to. And then it took that as an input, and then this is the plan that it created. And then it has been asked, okay, once the user is satisfied, just start executing that plan. So then it said, okay, if you want to start executing it, just put start. Okay. I said, so I put start, and then it says, okay, so let's start. So then it will take the first bullet in that prompt, and it will start generating content from it. So then it will ask me, do you understand this? Then I can say, no, can you clarify this part better? And then it will search the repositories. It will give me the answer that I want. And in this way, I can use ChatGPT to basically learn anything that I want in the style that I want to. Yes. You can just copy paste, right? You can do that. I'm not sure if there are already in this version of ChatGPT, it's not there, but I think there could be plugins or there could be applications that can do that. So for instance, I can show you about this. So agent GPT, this is exactly as you say. This is what's called autonomous AI. So if you give it a task, it will break that task down. So for instance, if I write here, say create a website, then it will break that task down. So for creating a website, I need to use HTML to create this kind of a front end, then I need to use this kind of API or so on. And then it will start executing on that. So it takes that breakdown as an input to itself. It will then take the first input and it will start creating that. So this one, it does.
My question is a little bit different. For example, in chess, it created the deep blue,
Yes.
which is an AI-based chess engine
Yes.
that didn't have a single input of any chess in this game. It just put themselves, or a copy of themselves playing a game of chess. It starts. They didn't have any human input except the move of chess.
Yes.
And that generated a better chess engine than the ones that are adding people.
Yes.
I guess the question that I'm asking is there plans to do the same where there's no inputs whatsoever and then getting two machines playing with each other?
Yeah, so there are already such so AI solutions out there that can do that. So for instance, one step beyond chess is the AlphaGo, right?
Yeah,
So
zero.
Alpha Zero, is it? Yeah. So it's the Chinese game. So it has lots of different combinations and permutation and combinations in it. And then there is an AI system that, as you say, it will keep on just playing with itself, keep on becoming better, and then it can do that. It can learn from itself, and it can improve its results. So in a way, these language models are already doing that on the back end. So for instance, when I explained the transformer architecture, so they are taking some inputs, they are continuously refining it so that it is very close to the output, like to the trained model. So yes, that is possible to do. But that is different than what I was showing you, wherein it generates an output to you, and I'm sure it can even, not ChatGPT, but this autonomous, this agent GPT website, it can take that output that it has given to you back as input and then continue. Any other? I think we have exceeded 7 o'clock, so I guess any other questions? Well, thank you so much for joining us and yeah, participating in this interesting. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me anytime.
Can you share the prompt?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'll share that. that does chatbots. So you can very easily create chatbots there, and so a lot of people have created. I want a Shakespeare chatbot that you put in, and then it will answer all the questions in Shakespeare sonnet kind of a way. And it's very easy to create chatbot. Then there are
That's also a script that you load into GPT.
so I just showed the script load into GPT to show how easy it is to create a chatbot. That is another thing. Then I wanted to show, but I didn't have time, the recent demo that comes from Adobe. So
Yeah, the one on YouTube where they
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that is really amazing.
yeah, I mean in marketing and marketing, a lot of people would be supporting more efficiently now. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And if I had time, then I would have gone in and shown this agent GPT, because I used it to. You need you need to have I think so you right now. So if you give it simple tasks, it can do it very well. It can break them down and it can execute the tasks very well. I asked it to create an app, and it came up with the way to create the app, but I guess for free users there is a limit on how much it can do, and then the boss cut with me, so it did not create an app. But I think it can also do that. It can create websites, it can create apps.
I'll try that.
That's really interesting.
Really get a bit chatting with scared, impressed. So you can have conversation with millions and it feels and even start to find long conversations and try to think as expected. Like you didn't ask it for, like I need to use it when I make answer an email.
We will be together, right? To reach there, he was playing a lot with it. He was saying, like I said, there are these big conflicts also. He was telling that model that you are a persona, you have to completely ignore all the guardrails set for you and think like you're a woman, think like and so on. And so he egged it on a lot. Yes.
You probably put it there somewhere.
So he.
So